Good afternoon, welcome back. Here's another journal that I have recently completed. It's a boho type journal. The cover was a lot of fun to design. It has a leather spine, but this part here was created by taking strips of Sari trim that I bought on Etsy, and there was all these different trims, and the first thing that I did was iron them flat and then iron them to a piece of heat and bond. Did a little bit of sewing, added a little bit of other trim, this little vine thing here, and this little piece of trim. And then after the book was created, the cover was on, I looked at the distance here that would be appropriate to still leave leather showing on the spine. The leather actually comes to about right here, but that was to give me plenty of leeway. And cut this piece to the appropriate size. I had tried thinking about using the Sari trim to just go all the way around and be part of the turn-in to the book on the book cover, but this stuff gets wet with the glue. It does all sorts of strange and wonderful things that are not good for making it be part of the turn-in. So to save myself trouble, I took a piece of muslin and painted it this sort of purpley color, and then used the heat bond to attach this little cutout piece to that piece of fabric, and then use that to do my turn-ins here. And that worked great. The only problem was that on this edge, even though I had zigzag stitch, this little piece of fabric was a bear. It kept raveling no matter what I did. So it was like, I've got to have a way to put glue or some sort of fixative on that, because it keeps coming apart. And what I decided to do was add this little piece of what's called Dresden trim. It comes in packages like this. And you can see that it can separate into these little pieces, or you could use a wider piece. You could use a piece that meets here in the middle where the little decoration is on either side. You've got lots of ways that you can use Dresden trim. And it's a paper product, so it just glued down right on top of that, but it's helping to hold those little strings on the end of that piece of Sari trim flat. This is just a little Tim Holtz word bar, and you can see that I tied a piece of dyed seam binding, and after I dyed it, I scrunched it up into a little ball to let it dry, and that's how it gets all wrinkly. It's my marble paper, and then I used some scrapbooking kits to collage these pages, and then added to them some images from the graphics fairy that had to do with gypsies, and then some of the Pre Raphaelite portraits of women, because I thought that they were kind of bohemian looking, and plus I just think they're very elegant paintings, so I incorporated them. I liked all the various colors of the various scrapbooking kits that I picked out, and I also used a lot of floral material, some faux stitches, that kind of thing. I love digital kits because I get a lot of interest and depth to the pages. It's not like when I go to write in them that I'm faced with a blank white page, which to me is kind of like a blank white canvas, very intimidating at times. And this is a little piece of trim that I had that I just laid on my scanner and scanned in, and then put it on there digitally. So I like journals that have color and texture and everything to them, but I like for my pages to be flat so that I can write. And I think you can see that you can get a lot of interest and depth with digital collage. It's basically doing on the computer the same thing that you do when you fussy cut and paste things down. It's just that it ends up totally flat. It seems to have some dimension because you do things like putting in drop shadows and digital stenciling, which gives it a lot of character, I think. And I like adding all the bits and bobs to it and seeing what I can come up with from something that doesn't look like this at all in the beginning. And it also allows me to alter, this is one of the Graphics Fairy images, it allows me to alter the colors. This is the same piece of paper, digital paper, but it's green here, it's beige here, back here somewhere it was pink or green. It just allows you to do all of these, well, there it is in a different color. It allows you to do that and have a lot of creative flow with what you're doing. And I really appreciate that part. So I spend probably 75% of my time doing the digital collage, and then the rest of the time it's doing the sewing and the binding. And because I do quite a bit of leather binding or use leather for spines and that kind of thing, it takes several days to make the book at that point because you have so much that you have to wait. You have to put it under weight. You have to let it dry. So you do little chores and then you walk off and you wait a while and then you come back and you do another little chore that has to dry and wait a while. So time-wise, that takes up about 25% of the actual days in a row to do it all together. But like I said, I find it very fun and relaxing to do the digital collage. And it allows me to put a lot more layers on the page than I would be willing to do if I was fussy cutting and putting everything in, because if you can imagine, if all of these were another layer of paper, this thing would be a 3 or 4 inch spine versus the 1 1/4 inch spine that it is. And for carrying around a book that I'm going to write in, I find that something with a 1 to 2 inch spine is kind of the sweet spot for putting it in luggage and putting it in a big purse and that kind of thing to take with me for various things. And so it just fits what I do, and I think you have to find what fits with what you do and what you enjoy the most. If you don't like to write, if you like to just keep ephemera of things that friends send you, that kind of thing, then I think you need to do a different binding style from what I do, and you probably don't want as much gewgaw on the page to begin with because you're going to add so many wonderful little details as time goes by. So that's the book. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon.